Hi everyone, I'm MaryAnn. I'm a voice coach and visual artist from Singapore, currently in Singapore, and welcome to another installment of my weekly vlog series, Find Your Voice. So this is where I share what I'm learning in my journey as an everyday singer, as a voice coach, as a singing instructor, as an artist, as someone who is all about expressing myself in the most authentic and true way possible, the truest self that I can be. And ultimately, I believe also that this whole journey in life that we're going through, there is something that we are overall trying to express in the things that we do, be it, stuff that we're passionate about, our dreams and aspirations, something that we are really passionate about that we want to go after and create as a worthy and meaningful purpose for ourselves. We're always expressing this something, which I call our capital V voice. And it's kind of like, you're an artist and your whole life is this masterpiece that you've been painting. And only when you reach the end of the journey, when you look back, then you can see the entire painting that you have been putting together all this time. And that is, kind of like our capital V voice. I'm sure it's a lot more complicated than that, or maybe it's a lot more simpler than that, but we complicate things. I don't know. But yes, that is what I believe that this whole singing journey is about, and working on our ability to express ourselves in our physical voice, which is a natural ability that we were born with and we were able to use ever since we were babies. It's also a direct and indirect way of working on finding your capital V voice and getting more connected to a truer, more authentic side of yourself. So if you have questions about this, feel free to ask them in the comments, or you can also message me through any of my links which you see in the write-ups attached to these videos. So a few days ago I had a session with probably my most hardworking and diligent client. And she's been practicing her, the vocal exercises that I've given her every single day, almost every day, because some days, she gets busy, or some days she practices a little too hard, and then the next day she's hoarse, and so she has to take a break. And she practices about an hour a day. And recently when I met her at our last session, she was telling me how she practiced and she got hoarse, and then she tried singing some other songs outside of what is in her practice session. And then she found that she sounded horrible, and yeah. And so from there I just asked her, okay, you say you've been practicing an hour a day, what exactly are you practicing? And when she told me, I was just like, oh my gosh, this girl is I think she's pushing herself a little bit too hard. That made me realize that, first of all, I think when we hear the word practice, we sometimes don't actually understand what exactly are we supposed to practice and how are we supposed to practice. And this was the thing that she brought up as well in our conversation, because she talked about back in the day when she was in a school choir, and she was trying to learn the repertoire for their performances, and whenever she couldn't get the melody right or something, the teacher or the student leaders would tell her you have to just practice. And so to her, practice was singing the lines that she had problems with, singing them on repeat 10 times, and then singing the whole song from beginning to end 10 times. And that was her understanding of practice. And even when she tried to ask, how am I supposed to practice, they would just tell her, just practice. So I think there is some sort of misconception and misunderstanding when it comes to the idea of practice here. And when it comes to the voice, I would say this is a little bit more complicated, because the thing about practice, the common misconception that we have is that more is better. The quantity is better than the quality. And in some cases, that is actually true, because for example, if you want to be an artist and you want to hone your drawing skills, then quantity is actually more important than the quality, because when you're practicing, when you're doing your drills, it's really just keep drawing and keep drawing and keep drawing until muscle memory kicks in, and you have a perfect drawing of whatever it is that you're drawing. And for example, if you're learning a musical instrument, then quantity might actually be more important than quality, because you have to play things over and over again until your fingers memorize them. So I'm speaking specifically here of playing the piano or playing the guitar, because it requires certain muscle memory of your fingers. In the beginning, when you are learning a musical piece, you have to kind of repeat over and over again in order for the muscle memory to set in. And then only after that, then we can talk about like, emotional expression or something in your performance in your playing. But with the voice, however, quantity isn't necessarily, in fact, quantity may not be the best way forward. If anything, I would say the quality of your practice sessions are more important than the quantity. Like, it's not so much how much time you're putting into your practice sessions. Of course, I'm not saying that you just do like 1 minute and it's sufficient, okay? Realistically speaking, I would say if you do like 20 minutes a day, half an hour a day, and if you do those exercises well, and you do the right exercises in the right sequence, and you put in your best effort, and give it your 110%, and don't be like distracted while you're doing them, and don't do them for the sake of doing them, but really put in everything you've got to do them. 20 minutes, 30 minutes a day is sufficient. With your voice, you don't want to overdo things. You don't want to, because our voice is such a delicate instrument. And if you notice, well, like my client did, after practicing an hour daily, she's gonna get hoarse sometimes, and then that actually throws off her schedule, because she plans to practice every day, and the moment she gets hoarse, she has to take a break, and then the next day she kind of like doubles down her efforts to try to make up for the day that she missed. And so that just makes things worse. Because your voice is pretty much like an intricate part of you, it's really important to take care of it. And what that means then is you don't want to strain it, you don't want to overstress it. I mean, it's good to push the limit a little bit, but you don't want to like be so stuck on, oh, I have to practice an hour every single day until I'm hoarse. You don't want to get to that point. And like I said, 20-30 minutes of a good solid practice, doing the right sequence of exercises, is better than trying to do an hour where it's like, you're just repeating things for the sake of repeating them. So that was my client's idea of practice, and that was what she was doing with her hour. She was just repeating things for the sake of repeating them, thinking that that was the best way to practice. And so I realized that, on my end as well, I did not specify exactly how she was supposed to practice. So that was something that I needed to talk to her about. So this leads me also into another thing, which is that I also have clients who would say that they don't have time to practice. And because they don't have time to practice, they decide to like put off, the voice coaching sessions, or like not, work on it for the time being, or they work on other things in the meantime. So there's also a misconception that when it comes to practice, they need to spend and devote a lot of time and energy to it, which really is not the case, because like I said, it only takes 20 and 30 minutes if you really like, enthusiastic about it, like my diligent client. But if you're a really busy person, and most of us are, and you're not planning to be like a professional singer at any point in time, you just want to work on your expression and be better in terms of how you express yourself, then really just doing like 10 minutes a day of the vocal exercises, or whatever, exercises your voice coach has given you, 10 minutes, 15 minutes a day, it's not difficult to carve out that time. Like really, if this is something that you really want to work on, and you should be really wanting to work on this, because working on your voice and expression spills over into practically every other area of your life, because we use our voice and expression in almost anything that we do, in our jobs, in our relationships, in our friendships, when you go and travel and you need to like, express yourself to like figure out how you're going to get around or something. Like, we use it in every single area of our lives. And so if your voice and expression is that intricate a part of you, and it's so important, then prioritize it. Put in that 5 minutes a day, 10 minutes a day. If you can go like 20-30 minutes, and of course if you're planning to go professional, then I would say then yes, probably you need to put in a lot more time than just half an hour a day. But then all the more the care for your voice and the care for your instrument, it becomes even more important. So in conclusion, when it comes to voice exercises, when it comes to developing your voice and improving your voice, the quality of your practice is far more important than the quantity. So even if it's just 5 or 10 minutes, but you do the exercises in the right sequence, and you do them well, and you put in your 110% to make sure that you're doing them impeccably and doing them well, you're actually going to get a lot more out of it than if you're putting like an hour a day where you're just mindlessly repeating things for the sake of repeating things. So yeah, if you have questions about this, feel free to ask them in the comments or in my links in write-ups attached to these videos. And if you have enjoyed today's video, subscribe to my channel, and I will see you next week.